Chapter 6, Sustainable World. In this chapter, we will discuss three lessons. Lesson 1 covers sustainable development. Lesson 2 is the global food security. And lesson 3 is the global citizenship. Lesson 1, Sustainable Development. Sustainable development is development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It is also an organizing principle for meeting human development goals while simultaneously sustaining the ability of natural systems to provide the natural resources and ecosystem services on which the economy and society depends. Sustainable development aims to meet the diverse needs of all people in existing and future communities, promoting personal well being, social cohesion and inclusion, and creating equal opportunity. It is also about ensuring a strong, healthy, and just society. Sustainability is seen as a global concept and it can be explained well through the help of three sphere or pillar model: the environmental, economic, and social. To meet the definition of sustainable development, these three key areas must be economically efficient, socially equitable, and environmentally sustainable. The first one comprises social pillar. It upholds the values that promote fairness and respect for individual rights. Goals here include, for example, better education and training opportunities, equal rights for men and women, and promoting solidarity, fighting poverty, and prosperity for the whole humanity. The second one comprises economic pillar, that is business and industry. It is to develop a responsible economic system. It includes the protection of environment by limiting the risk posed by their production. For example, mangoes from Brazil or bananas from Colombia or Ecuador arrive by air from a very long way. Transporting them causes a lot of pollution. Another, we should find and buy produce that's in season in our region, like strawberries in summer. It is not an example of responsible economic management as it costs a lot of money. The third and last pillar is the environmental pillar. It is founded on a commitment to protect the environment by reducing risk. It includes climate protection, which is relevant and widespread, protection of resources and biodiversity, and pollution prevention. Food should be grown organically. That means we should stop using pesticides, and farm animals should be given fodder produced in a farm. We should also make use of resources more sparingly. For example, petrol. We use petrol for our cars, but sooner or later this resource will be exhausted, resulting for no fuel for the cars anymore. That is why we're looking very hard for an environmentally friendly alternative so future generations will have environmentally friendly cars. Electric cars, for example. In between social environmental pillars includes, for example, environmental justice and natural resources stewardship locally and globally. In between environmental economic pillars includes, for example, energy efficiency, subsidies or incentives for use of natural resources. And lastly, between economic social pillars includes, for example, business ethics, fair trade, and workers' rights. An example of sustainable living is buying organic products at the market, rides to work in a bike, and uses lights produced by green electricity.
Stability versus sustainability. When we say sustainability, it is a comprehensive approach to management of the organizations which is focused on creating and maximizing long-term economic, social, and environmental value. It is the ability to preserve in a relatively consistent manner across various domains of life. It is a process of people sustaining change in a homeostasis balanced environment in which resource exploitation, investment direction, technological development orientation, and an institutional change are all in sync and enhance both current and future potential to meet human needs and aspirations. Sustainability is also defined by the following interconnected domains or pillars: environmental, economic, and social, which are based on the principles of system thinking according to Capra F. Meanwhile, when we talk about stability, it generally means the ability of the system to keep it in the given parameters. The stability of the enterprise is a dynamic, complex, multifaceted category which includes such aspects industrial, technological, social, environmental, and marketing. And there are four approaches to the concept of economic stability. The first involves the use of the term steady state, which reflects the dynamic equilibrium of the economic system. And the second identifies the economic stability of businesses with their financial position or with their financial stability. And the third uses the concept of sustainable economic growth as a foundation which characterizes the dynamic equilibrium of the economic system. And the fourth provides a review of the problem of stability under the provisions of the concept of sustainable development or sustainability. In other words, stability refers to the state of being stable, resistant to change, or not prone to wild emotional fluctuations. For example, a life that is calm and stable with no wild ups and downs. In terms of sustainability, it is the ability to keep something going, such as economic growth at a certain rate or level. Stability is merely resistance to change, and sustainability comes from the long-term planning, like how will this decision affect the next 7 generations?
The Sustainable Development Goals. So, what are the Sustainable Development Goals? The Sustainable Development Goals, or SDG, also known as the Global Goals, were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030, all people enjoy peace and prosperity. The Sustainable Development Goals are a call to action for all countries, rich and poor, to promote prosperity while protecting the environment. They recognize that ending poverty requires strategy that promote economic growth and address a variety of social needs such as education, health, social protection, and job opportunities, as well as addressing climate change and environmental protection. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals are: number 1, no poverty; number 2, zero hunger; number 3, good health and well-being; number 4, quality education; number 5, gender equality; number 6, clean water and sanitation; number 7, affordable and clean energy; number 8, decent work and economic growth; number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure; number 10, reducing inequality; number 11, sustainable cities and communities; number 12, responsible consumption and production; number 13, climate action; number 14, life below water; number 15, life on land; number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions; and number 17, partnerships for the goals. These 17 SDGs are integrated because they recognize that action in one area will affect outcomes in others, and that development must balance social, economic, and environmental sustainability.
Global food security. As defined by the FO 1996, food security refers to conditions in which all people, at all times, have physical and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food to meet their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life. So, we have here the chain that shows the four models of global food security. First, we have the availability, which is ensured when there is a reliable supply of food of sufficient quantity and quality. It is dependent on domestic production, food stocks, imports, and food aid. The next one is the access, which where it is ensured when individuals and households have adequate resources to obtain appropriate food. It is dependent on political, economic, social factors and equitable distributions, markets or infrastructures, affordability, and purchasing power. Next to this is the utilization, which is ensured when food is nutritious and can be adequately metabolized and can be used by the body. Utilization is dependent on food safety, food quality, nutritional knowledge, proper preparation, and clean water, sanitation, and healthcare. And the last one is the stability. This is ensured when there is a permanent and durable access of food. This is dependent on maintenance of all three pillars all the time and no risk of lost supply economic, political, and environmental factors. The importance of global food security is that it helps to enhance the productivity and consecutively the production of food. It can assist in providing opportunities for income generation. And it generally provides improvement of nutritional advice through home economics programs and enhances the quality of rural life by the way of community development.
Factors influencing global food security. When we say factors, these are the things or elements that influences or contributes to a certain thing. Now we will be talking about the factors that affects the influence of global food security. Food security. These are the physical and economic access to sufficient food to meet the dietary requirements for a productive and healthy life. The World Food Summit of 1996 proposed that food security involves food availability, food access, and food utilization, and that all of these factors are interrelated. In short, it is the measure of the availability of food and individuals' ability to access it. Example of this is the purchasing powers of a certain customer or consumer. Now we are going to talk about the food insecurity. So, food insecurity defined as inadequate physical, social, or economic access to food. It refers to lack of access to population, hampers economic productivity, undernutrition affects growth, development of acute and chronic diseases, survival, and economic productivity. Data suggested that more than 800 million people around the world were considered food insecure in year 2012 to 2014. Multiple factors are responsible for food insecurity worldwide, such as population growth, climate change, increasing cost of food, unemployment, poverty, and loss of biodiversity. The combined effects of these factors has undeniably impacted global food production and security.
Challenges of global food security. Food security occurs when all people are able to access enough safe and nutritious food to meet their requirements for a healthy life in ways the planet can sustain into the future. However, food security faces a number of challenges across both production and consumption, which research will be essential to solve. Many countries are facing the double burden of hunger and undernutrition alongside overweight and obesity, with 1 in 3 people across the globe currently suffering from some form of malnutrition. A growing population means more mouths to feed. The expanding global population is getting wealthier, and richer people tend to eat more and demand food that is resource intensive to produce, particularly meat and dairy. There are 6 challenges to global food security. First, food price volatility. Second, energy or biofuels. Third, population growth and demographic change. Fourth, land and water constraints. Fifth, climate change. And sixth, conflicts. Food price volatility. The term price volatility is used to describe price fluctuations of a commodity. Volatility is measured by the day-to-day percentage difference in the price of commodity. The degree of variation, not the level of prices, defines the volatile market. Since price is a function of supply and demand, it follows that volatility is a result of the underlying supply and demand characteristics of the market. Therefore, high levels of volatility reflect extraordinary characteristics of supply and demands. Energy or biofuels. High food prices have been accompanied by rising fuel prices, which further threaten microeconomic stability and overall growth, especially of low-income net energy importing countries. Population growth and demographic change. Population is always a part of the equation. For any given type of technology, level of consumption or waste, and poverty or inequality, the more people there are, the greater the impact on the environment is, and, in turn, the greater impact on food production capacity will be. Land and water constraints. Water is essential for growing food for household uses including drinking, cooking, and sanitation. As a critical input into industry, for tourism and cultural purposes, and in sustaining the Earth's ecosystem. But this essential resource is under threat. Growing water scarcity in much of the world poses challenges for national and subnational governments and for individual water users. The challenges of water scarcity are compounded by soil degradation in irrigated areas, the increasing costs of developing new water, overpumping and depletion of groundwater, water pollution, and degradation of water-related ecosystems, and the wasteful use of already developed supplies encouraged by subsidies and distorted incentives that influence the water use. Next is climate change. Climate change can also alter the distribution and severity of pests and diseases in crops and livestock and has the potential for severe impacts on food production and animal welfare. Around a third of the food produced in the world for human consumption every year gets lost or wasted, whether early in supply chain through pests and diseases and post-harvest losses, or late in the supply chain at retail and consumption. This impacts on how much we might need to produce in the future. And last, conflict. Conflict and hunger are closely intertwined. When one escalates, the other usually follows. As in any crisis, it is the poorest and most vulnerable who are hardest hit. And in our globalized world, the impact of this conflict will reverberate across continents. Conflict negatively affects almost every aspect of a food system, from production, harvesting, processing and transport to input supply, financing, and marketing consumption. Direct impacts can include the destruction of agricultural and livelihood assets and can severely disrupt and restrict trade and movements of goods and services, with a negative effect on the availability and prices of food, including nutritious foods.
Let us talk about global citizenship. When we say global citizenship, it is a moral and ethical disposition that can guide the understanding of individuals or group of locals in global contexts and remind them of their relative responsibilities within various communities. When there is global citizenship, there are also global citizens. Global citizens are the glue which binds local communities together in an increasingly globalized world. They are actively engaged in global efforts, whether in business ventures, environmentalism, concern for nuclear weapons, health or immigration problems, and so on. As a global citizen, one must be effective. In order to be an effective global citizen, an individual must be flexible, creative, and proactive. One must be able to solve problems efficiently, make decisions of their own, think critically, communicate ideas clearly, and practice teamwork and collaboration within teams and groups. These skills and attributes are essential in order to succeed in other areas of our everyday life. These skills and qualities cannot be developed without the use of active learning methods through which an individual learns by doing and collaborating with others. There are 6 characteristics of a global citizen. A global citizen must understand that we were born of this world, protect the country in the world when called upon to do so, stand up and defend against the injustice that we see, understand the interconnectedness, respect and value diversity, and take action in meaningful ways. In global citizenship, there are also ethics. Ethics of global citizenship are the principles such as respecting others, obeying rules and laws, and setting a good example to others. Global citizens feel a sense of responsibility to help other people no matter where they live, which help people to overcome social problems, build rapport with one another, maintain peace and stability, and promote justice and equality among people from different cultures. According to Oxfam, a global citizen is someone who is aware of the wider world and has a sense of their own role as a world citizen, respects and values diversity, has an understanding of how the world works economically, politically, socially, culturally, technologically, and environmentally, is outraged by social injustice, participates in and contributes to the community, is willing to make the world a more sustainable place, and takes responsibility for their actions. With the interconnected and interdependent nature of our world, the global is not out there, but it is part of our everyday lives as we are linked to others on every continent. We are linked to others socially and culturally through the media and telecommunications and through travel and migration, economically through trade, environmentally through sharing one planet, and politically through international relations and systems of regulation. So is global citizenship education needed, and why is it needed? Our fast-changing globalized world offers a lot of opportunities to young people, but it also offers challenges. Young people are entitled to an education that equips them with the knowledge, skills, and values they need in order to embrace the opportunities and challenges they encounter and to create the kind of world that they want to live in. Global citizenship education is an education that supports young people's development as global citizens. Moreover, it is the idea that one identity transcends geography or political borders and that responsibilities or rights are derived from membership in broader class called humanity. Global citizenship education is needed because it helps people to be part of an emerging world community and contribute to the society's values and beliefs. It helps citizens to view the world as a whole, value diversity, and understand global issues.